Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's wonderful to come together today with friends and colleagues from across the globe in celebration of 20 years of the Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University. My name is Dana Gershon, and I am the president of the National Council of Jewish Women and a proud member of the Board of Governors at Tel Aviv University.
ברוכים וברוכות הבאים, בוקר טוב, צהריים טובים, ערב טוב. I'm Daphne Hacker, and I'm the head of the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program here at Tel Aviv University, and I couldn't be more proud to be here today.
In the 2000-2001 academic year, National Council of Jewish Women created an endowment that established the first ever BA Gender Studies program in the entire Middle East, the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University. Still here today, thriving 2 decades later. In the next hour, we're excited to honor the vast accomplishments of this phenomenal endeavor.
Our program has educated and nurtured students to become agents of social change here in Israel. It was created as and remains a groundbreaking program. As Dana mentioned, we were the first to offer a bachelor degree in the subject matter that explores gender dynamics and equity in the region. When we started the program, there was not even the Hebrew word for gender, migdal. It had to be created. Today, we use an interdisciplinary approach to teaching and research through over 100 courses ranging from the faculties of law, humanities, art, and the social sciences. And we facilitate critical analysis of the role of women and other minorities in institutions of all kinds, both public and private. Our students come from a variety of backgrounds, and our alumni have gone on to prestigious positions that directly influence Israeli society.
It is truly an honor for me to be part of such an important program that educates, trains, and mobilizes women to lead. We know that when women lead, real change follows. So now, a little bit of housekeeping. As a reminder, closed captions are available today. We encourage you to post in the chat to participate in today's celebration. And the recording of this event will be available on our website, so you can share it afterwards with those who couldn't join us today. In the next hour, we'll celebrate the past, present, and future of the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University as we hear from leading changemakers, feminist activists, and scholars. Now, take a look at this video honoring the impact of this incredible program with a few special guests.
Today, we are marking 20 years of the first and only BA in Gender Studies in Israel.
I am happy and honored to congratulate you all.
Mazel Tov for the 20th anniversary of the Women and Gender Studies program in Tel Aviv University.
Kol hakavod to NCJW, to Tel Aviv University, to our partnership.
Wow, it's amazing to be here.
The first gender studies program in the Middle East, a diamond in the rough.
Since the program was established, we have had 500 alumni in gender studies on both the BA and MA levels. These graduates went on to become educators, journalists, scholars, entrepreneurs, and social activists, all of them making the gender lens relevant in diverse professional arenas.
Hundreds of bachelor degrees have been granted to women to be able to advance social change and make a difference in their communities and in their organizations.
I thank you so much for doing it. It was an amazing experience being in the program, learning from the professors and from the fellow classmates and students, and seeing how my points of view change through the years.
We are seeing more women professors in the top management as vice presidents, deans, and heads of schools, and also a greater representation of women scientists and students in STEM fields.
To many more years of successfully working together on advancing social change with feminists leading the way.
Many more years of successful studies and wonderful graduates who influence the future of feminism and the future of women's studies in Israel.
The NCJW is the perfect partner in this positive and hope-filled quest. Thank you.
Thank you, the Women and Gender Studies program. You've changed my life.
It is my privilege to introduce Professor Hannah Nave, who began working together with other colleagues to establish this program more than 20 years ago. Through her leadership, this program was built from the ground up, and we are so grateful to her incredible vision and leadership over the years that has made this program flourish into what it is today. It is my honor to carry on the legacy she started.
In 1998, it was not self-evident to us in Tel Aviv that an American Jewish women's organization should reach out to an Israeli public university to establish the first ever women-oriented degree-granting academic program in Israel, and in the Middle East for that matter. Having acquainted myself from first learning of NCJW, and more so over the years, with the wide scope of NCJW's mission at home, USA, and abroad, Israel in this case, it was no less than miraculous to us that NCJW decided to place its confidence and trust in our academic pitch for establishing such a program at Tel Aviv University, Israel's largest university, mind, and to endow us with funds and faith. Faith not less important than funds. We were well aware at the onset that NCJW was deeply invested in projects of philanthropy and education aimed at improving the lives and the well-being of women, children, families in Israel, with a special investment in child education and welfare. Indeed, NCJW's educational project at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, the NCJW Research Institute for Innovation in Education, which was founded and led by the recently late Professor Chaim Adler, who received the Israel Prize for his work within the NCJW endeavor. That project had rightfully achieved wide acclaim, and we realized we would really need to shine in the pitch that it was I who gave the pitch for funding. And I realized we would really have to shine with our agenda in a major way in order to likewise be embraced by NCJW. And then the unexpected, yet so wished for and prayed for, happened. Nan Rich, Jan Schneiderman, and Susan Katz received our call for support and came to our aid with generosity and warmth, and moreover with a deep understanding not only of the academic, but of the social and cultural necessity for establishing such a women's studies program in Israel. There had not been one before. They understood the unimaginable value of such a program as a facilitator and enabler for improving women's lives and status in Israel, thereby also advocating for children and families, which are women's core interests. They realized that in order to address the woman problem, or women problem, a major shift in public discourse had to be promoted, and to that aim, an academic program would be perfect. I had already sweated enough at the pitch, which gained us NCJW's participation and support, and I headed the program for its first 6 years. During the years of my tenure, which were the basic founding years, it was the nation building year, the program building years, the agenda building years. During the years of my tenure, I concentrated on two objectives. The first was intra-institutional, namely inside the institution. It was, and this is something that any one of you all of you who have been to university and know what the politics of institutions are, it was obvious to me that we had to make ourselves well-known and academically respected in the Tel Aviv University campus. This was not a given. It was not given to us. It was not obvious that we had that, both vis-a-vis potential students and the faculty by and large. I saw my mission to begin as a recruiting one, among other things, and I'm referring to recruiting faculty members. This is my big experience of the first years, recruiting faculty members to want to teach in our program, to make our program so attractive that people would beg, so to speak, to be allowed, to be offered to teach in it. This is not the way it started out. and thus they would recognize our program's humanistic potential. When we first set out, we had a very small course list, and from only a few departments and disciplines who shared to begin with. Maybe we had 10 courses at the beginning when we just opened. And indeed, the Faculty of Law, which has a major footprint today in our program, was not even on board yet. I knew we needed to expand our course offerings and make it more relevant to a wide spectrum of interests that would be a basic manifestation of our educational and social mission. I recall the days and the nights I spent meeting, calling, engaging in conversation, in discussions to convince my fellow faculty members to come to do some rethinking of their own. This is very difficult to make an academic person rethink, in order to reframe their ideas, materials, and teaching methods in terms of gender criticism and women's role in history and society. I needed them to revisit traditional concepts by adapting even somewhat to feminist criticism. Over the years, our course list has evolved, including law courses, of course, to a full-blown, very large, interdisciplinary, extremely attractive undergraduate and graduate program. I believe this accomplishment is the outcome of our policy of inclusion, which I introduced from the outset. I did not wish to have a room of our own. I wanted an open room with a policy of inviting guests and other ideas and other people into the room. Policy of inclusion and the advocacy we did for its dissemination, this has become a constant and consistent hallmark of our project. And although university did not look kindly and appreciatively at such directions and endeavors, we persisted. Let me say to you, perhaps most of you Americans, yes, still we persisted, as she always needs to persist, every she. Over the years, I've come to appreciate the relationship we developed with NCJW. It was not merely a formal relationship of courtesy. It was not just friendship and camaraderie. It was an ongoing process of identification, one with the other, moral support, and sharing of knowledge. I personally had not only me, I'm talking about my experience. I had the honor of being a guest of NCJW's annual conventions for many years, one in which I personally met with Hillary Clinton, another in which I met and shared the podium with the formidable, notorious RBG. I am forever grateful for these opportunities, and the photos I have of myself with these persistent ladies are always somewhere near my heart. I do believe that our partnership with NCJW has enriched us incredibly. And I do believe that NCJW can be extremely proud of its commitment to our program. Leading the program has filled my life with a sense of a great achievement. And I share this feeling of having done something worthwhile with my time and energy, along with the other leaders of the program who came after me, Hannah Herzog, Orly Lubin, Tovi Fenster, Smadar Schiffman, Zichrona Livracha, and Daphne Hacker currently. I heard today on one of your American television networks that the leader of the House was asked by the interviewer, what would you do if you ruled the world? And she said, if I ruled the world, I would teach all the women and girls. Well, I don't rule the world, and yet my mission is teaching as many as I can, all the women and girls. In the educational feminist work we do here in Israel, we are disseminating the ideas and practices which have cultivated and brought about the next generation in Israel of women and men who strive for liberty, equality, and justice for all. This is our share in NCJW's vision and mission for Tikkun Olam. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Naveh, for sharing the story of the founding of the program with us. NCJW cherishes our long-standing partnership and friendship with you. You can never truly measure the impact you've had on the hundreds of students you've taught over the years and all those who've earned degrees and taken courses in NCJW's Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University. We'd like to take this moment to recognize all the professors and lecturers who teach the many courses in NCJW's Women and Gender Studies program. Thank you for your commitment to advancing gender equity by investing in your students and empowering your students to question the way things are, envision how they could be, and act to create a more equitable future for women in all communities.
Hi, I'm Shira. I'm an Israeli-American singer-songwriter, and I'm so happy to be here for the NCJW celebrating 20 years of incredible work for gender rights in Israel. We're not quite there yet, but I know that with initiatives like that, we're one step closer. So the first song I'm going to sing is called Chai, made famous by Ofra Chaza, the one and only, and it talks about hope, personal hope, communal hope, and the hope that we all bring to the world. אני עוד חי, ושתי עיניי עוד נישאות לאור. רבים חוכי, אך גם פרחי, ולפניי שנים רבות מספור. אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא עבדה עוד התקווה, עובר מזמור, מדור לדור, כמעיין מאז ועד עולם. אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא עבדה עוד התקווה. חי, 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 כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני. הומים ימיי ולילותיי, ובשמי עמוד האש עוד קם. אשיר בלי די, אפרוס ידיי לידידיי אשר מעבר לים. אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא עבדה עוד התקווה. חי, 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 כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני עוד חי, חי, עם ישראל חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce Knesset member Merav Michaeli. MK Merav Michaeli is the leader of the Labour Party and was elected in January 2021. A member of the Knesset since 2013, she has served on many committees, including the Status of Women and Gender Equality Committee. For over 20 years, she has been involved in feminist activism, seeking to promote women's equality and opportunity. We are honored to have her as a partner in the fight for women's equality here in Israel. Welcome, Knesset member Merav Michaeli.
My dear friends and partners from NCJW and the Tel Aviv University Gender Studies Program, 20th anniversary celebration. What a celebration. On one hand, I cannot believe it's been 20 years already. And on the other hand, is it only 20 years? Because the effect that the gender studies program has in Israel is so dramatic that it is hard to believe that it's only been 20 years since the first ever gender studies program in the Middle East has come up on the stage. Those of you who don't live in Israel, let me tell you, there isn't a prominent feminist, even or maybe more of these who never knew they were feminists, or it's allowed to reveal, maybe were not even feminists before they passed through the program. All of them had some kind of contact with this such prominent creature of our Israeli culture today. It's not only the research, it's not only the policies, it is a component of Israeli culture today. Feminism, gender, the commitment to those aspects of our life, which to my mind is the aspect of every aspect of our lives, has become such a lot thanks to the gender studies program that NCJW supports all those years. In terms of language, in terms of thought, in terms of the people, the characters, the celebrities that have passed through this program and took from it the deep understanding of what gender is, what equality is, how these things work in every sphere of our lives, and how we can make our lives so much better. It's a huge contribution of this program to Israel, to women in Israel, and to equality in Israel in general. I look forward to continue working with the program. I have been working with the program for so many years in so many different ways. I have so many friends there, as I do in NCJW. So many friends and so many partners. What we are doing is building together the next level of feminism and of equality in society and in the country, in the state. That is true for the US today more than ever, with a new administration and everything that the new administration brings with it, which are fruits of many, many programs of gender studies. The same is going to happen in Israel. Now that we are replacing the old government with a new government that is still not the feminist government that Israel needs, but it is making a step towards there. I know my ministry will do that. And a lot of it is part of everything I and others on the administration and outside the administration have gained from whatever relationship they had with the gender studies program in the Tel Aviv University. NCJW guys, you are so important for us. Your contribution, your support in this is beyond something that we can express. We have so much more to do and so much more to achieve, but I know we are so going to do it.
Thank you, MK Michaeli, for those compelling remarks. It is imperative to have more women like you leading in the halls of power. Now, I'd like to invite the CEO of the National Council of Jewish Women and proud member of the Board of Governors of Tel Aviv University, Sheila Katz, to join me.
Thanks, Dana. Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to celebrate this milestone with all of you today. For generations, National Council of Jewish Women has been working to advance gender equity and advocate for civil liberties in Israel. Our current work in Israel is particularly focused on building the feminist table and making sure women from all backgrounds can come together and leverage their collective impact. We identify, educate, and elevate feminist leaders to advocate for the equal status of women while fostering collaboration to make a lasting impact in civil society. The NCJW Women and Gender Studies program is an essential piece to our work supporting the feminist advocates who do transformative work in Israel. In the halls of Tel Aviv University, and in this past year over Zoom, we are nurturing the future leaders of the movement for gender equity. And we've already seen the powerful accomplishments of so many of the graduates who have gone on to break glass ceilings and lead social change movements.
Through critical analysis, interdisciplinary courses, research, and mentorship, students are growing into their most evolved selves, ready to change Israeli society and improve the lives of women, children, and families. And they're doing research that informs how social change organizations are executing their plans and making an impact in Israel.
To take it a step further, in 2018, National Council of Jewish Women and Tel Aviv University's Women and Gender Studies program launched the Connecting for Impact Fellowship, an empowering leadership development program for top women CEOs and executives looking to grow the feminist field in Israel and leverage their collective power to make change. Through Connecting for Impact, leaders build relationships and power to effectively fight for a better world for women and girls. Professor Hacker is one of our key partners, and her brilliant wisdom on feminist theoretical thinking strengthened the outcomes of our cohort leaders on the ground. These diverse and influential changemakers bring their whole selves to the table and all of the intersectional backgrounds to the fellowship and their vital efforts. The current cohort brings together leaders who are accomplishing extraordinary feats to end violence against women in Israel in all forms, across a range of sectors and communities.
And many of these leaders and more receive funding through NCJW's Israel Granting Program, which supports their transformative projects to better the lives of women, children, and families. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we supported our long-standing partners as they provided critical support to those seeking essential health care, access to legal services, and the continued fight for representation in modern Israeli society.
Through NCJW's Women and Gender Studies program, the Connecting for Impact Fellowship, and Israel Granting program, NCJW is developing future women leaders during their formative years, investing in leaders on the ground to enhance their effectiveness, providing a platform for feminist connection and collaboration, and ensuring organizations seeking to advance gender equity will have the funding they need to flourish and create lasting change.
NCJW is committed to supporting the incredible activists on the ground in Israel who are improving the lives of women, children, and families. And we are committed to our 20-year partnership with Tel Aviv University. I encourage you to invest in this work with me. You can make your gift to support all of our programs in Israel at www.ncjw.org/donate. We need your philanthropic support as we press onward and build a more equitable future in Israel with women on the front lines of leadership in all parts of society.
Thank you, NCJW, for all the vital work you're doing in Israel. I am honored to be partnered with you in these efforts. I especially thank Liron Hadomi-Peleg for leading Connecting for Impact together with the program. Now it is my honor to introduce our amazing panelists who are doing powerful work in advancing gender equity. We're excited to hear about their endeavors and learn about priorities for the feminist movement today. Senator Nan Rich is a past president of the National Council of Jewish Women, and under her leadership, the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University was established. She is recognized as one of the most passionate and dedicated members of the Florida legislature, where she served in the Florida State Senate and House of Representatives. She currently serves as the Broward County Commissioner. Dr. Safa Abu Rabia is a Palestinian Bedouin Israeli from the Negev. An anthropologist, currently serves as the Director of Arab Community Program at Yad HaNadiv Foundation. She has taught courses at Tel Aviv University, Ben-Gurion University, and Sapir College. Esti Ryder Indursky is a Haredi social activist for promoting the status of Haredi women and is especially identified in their struggle for voice and representation. She is a PhD student for Gender and Cultural Studies at Tel Aviv University. Please read their full bios available in the chat today. It is now my pleasure to welcome all of our panelists and turn it over to Senator Nan Rich.
Thank you so much, Dana and Daphne. I'm thrilled to be here today with you all and to moderate our amazing panel. Very happy to be with Esti and Safa, and I'm sure you all will be too as you learn about their background and the work that they do. So I'd like to start with the question, what are the major issues that you are working on right now, and can you explain why they should be a priority for everyone joining us here today? We'll start with you, Esti.
Yeah. Well, from where to begin? Because Professor Hackler is here, and I will state on the record that my major issue is writing my PhD. I do nothing but that, Daphna, don't worry. I could elaborate and explain why it's very important for everyone here to support the topic of ultra-Orthodox women that fighting to learn Gemara, which is my topic. It's actually very easy. It goes with the subject because, fighting to get knowledge is, I think, the essence of the feminist struggle from day one. But off the record, if Daphna could look aside a minute, I'm also a Haredi ultra-Orthodox activist. And I'm, it seems to everyone that it's 2021, but for Haredi women, it's like the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century. So I'm still very much in the suffragette thing. I'm, you could call the last suffragist, one of the last suffragettes. And I try to promote Haredi women to decision circles because it's 2021 and there is not even one Haredi woman in politics in Israel, anywhere in the political Haredi parties. I'm active in several platforms and coalitions of Palestinian women and secular women to fight religious extremism, to fight the exclusion of women, which unfortunately is very, very, very common in Israel these days. Like you wouldn't believe the places that we that we are in this situation. And I'm also active in the implementation of 1325 decision that requires parties in conflicts to prevent violation of women's rights. And I'm doing it via Itach Ma'aki. And this is like a brief of what I do. But if you listen carefully, like there is something that connects all these issues, and that is that I fight for deprived women and try to fight for their rights and for their right to have a voice. I would add that my goal is to keep is to work for a better, sane future to women in general in Israel and to ultra-Orthodox women in particularly, for us and for our daughters and further generations in this part of this world.
Thank you, Esti. We'll move on to Safa. Would you like to please comment and share your priorities with us?
Yes, so thank you for your question. I think that maybe by starting telling about my background, it will explain a little bit about the motivation that I got to actually be activist and do what I'm doing these days. So I will start by telling you about who I am and how it is connected to my activism. So I grew up in a very privileged place as a daughter of a doctor father, the first Bedouin doctor. And also my mother was also educated and worked in a kindergarten supervisor. It was very important for both of them to educate us, me and my sister, to pursue higher education because they believed that this is the key to success in life. And also, as my mother educated us, that education for Arab women is a weapon for us. but it has a specific context. Actually, after my grandfather's deportation from the village of Lubi in 1948, the Palestinian Nakba, we the Palestinians lost our land and our lives, and actually education was left. And as my mother said, was our weapon, and that through it we can actually fight patriarchy and acquire the appropriate tools for our successful integration into Israeli life. All my sisters are educated also. They hold doctoral degrees and are very active in academia and public sphere. All the doors were open for me. I was taught to fight patriarchy and face difficulties. I was educated that I am equal to man and that we can not be dependent on male authority. But this was not my. This was just my circle. The circle of my cousins, the second circle of my family, was not like this. They grew up in an unrecognized village without water or electricity, without paved roads, and under a threat of demolishing their homes, with a failing education system. Their life trajectory is different from mine. Their basic mobility is limited and blocked physically and mentally. While all doors were open for me, they cannot leave the tribe, acquiring an education, choosing a spouse independently without the decision of the tribe, which usually decide for them at every level of their lives, personally and professionally. Over the years, I began to ask about my history. Why is it not taught in Jewish school where I was attended to? Why are Palestinians are presented as the enemies or not existent in history books? Where is my grandfather's history and his displaced village, Lubiye, and my grandfather's unrecognized village on my father's side? I start to research my oral history at university, focusing on the disappearing history of the Bedouin in the Negev. So in academia, I researched the hair story of Bedouin women and researched my oral history, but I was also teaching Arab and Muslim feminism. Today, I am the director of an Arab community program at Yad Nadif Foundation, and one of the main issues that I promote is the developing of gender-sensitive strategies from the data collection phase to the implementation phase. I ask always, how many women participate? How much content dealing with gender exists in each program in order to influence how social change can be expressed in a pro-woman way? I work on behalf of the foundation also for the advancement of gender equality as part of an extensive move that we are leading with additional funds for actual action in the field of education, community, civil society, as a result from the severe increase in the murder of women in the last year and a half. And today we are mobilizing the government and other key players in the field to promote gender equality in a various level of life. So I think that the priorities, I think that feminism is not just something that we can teach. It need to be our agenda, and it also motivates us to work towards gender equality in life.
Great, thank you. Before we move on to the Tel Aviv Women in Gender Studies program, I'm going to take this opportunity to add a few remarks. The first thing I want to do is to recognize the loss of a very special person to National Council of Jewish Women in Israel, and that is the loss of our dear colleague and friend and first director of the Research Institute, the NCJW Research Institute for Innovation and Education at Hebrew University. And Dr. Adler, Professor Adler, Chaim Adler, who passed away just recently, as I said, he was the first director, and he was the director for over 20 years. And he was a very special man. He was committed to closing the educational gap that existed in Israeli society. In short, Chaim Adler believed in providing opportunity for upward mobility and equal participation for all in Israeli society. And he was honored in 2006 with the prestigious State of Israel's Israel Prize for his work in education. And he was indeed an Israeli treasure. And I think his legacy lives on in the many women, children, and families that continue to be impacted by his commitment to social justice and to a vision for a better world. So it seemed like a perfect time. And with that, I'll kind of move into, from our years of experience with the Research Institute, advocating for women, children, and families, we knew how essential it was to improve the lives of women and their status, which is what you both have been talking about, which would best be done by creating a women's studies program, which, by the way, did not exist anywhere in Israel, nor I think anywhere in the Middle East. And the program would be a women's studies program to explore the dynamics of gender equity and the effects that it has on Israeli society. Share with us the impact that you think the program has had on the larger feminist movement in Israel, and how you have seen the state of feminism change over the past 20 years. That's a big question. So we'll start. Safa, would you like to start this time?
Yes, so gender studies program promoting gender equality have a very significant impact on public space as a whole. The very existence of gender department that educates for gender equality also deals with the discourse and content and promotes practices that affect public space and creates controversial discourse, lively and dynamic discussion that deals with women, gender equality, and makes significant change and promoting feminism or feminisms. In particular, it also promotes the fact that feminism discourse is an integral part of public discourse and not separated from it. It is not discourse of privilege, not discourse of the elites, and not discourse of the radicals. It is basic discourse that promotes values of equality, justice, and gender sensitive.
I think that every single one of our students is an activist by just sitting in class and taking these courses, and they're doing so much beyond what they have to regarding syllabus, regarding reading material that they have to do. Every time I gave them an assignment, they did also work on the ground, and those hours that I spent with them are really giving me reason to think that, they might be a better, sane future after all.
So through this research on women and gender equality, women can enter history, enter the public space, and recount their place and experiences. In this way, there is a significant a contribution to make the homogenic male discourse a diverse discourse connected to reality and more complex. Gender studies also contribute to learning about women's life and women's struggle in different cultures, with different feminism and not feminisms, and not just with the Western feminism that we all know. Which also studying this kind of feminisms contributes to exposing students to more critical perspective. So studies in feminism and gender also contribute to the presence of more women in public sphere. We used to attend conferences, and panels as a single Arab woman around the table. Today, this has changed. It has been changed, and there is more representation of women from all different cultures and class context and the geographies that add important, very significant perspectives that used to be hidden and not known. Which challenge the power relations and challenge the hegemony, and also tell a new story, a new and more complex story.
Thank you so much. It just kind of points to the reason, why NCJW got involved in this, and it's wonderful to hear your thoughts and what's actually happening on the ground there.
Also, major impact on public discourse. The major impact also is on public discourse on issues like raising issues of education, employment, welfare, childcare, and emotional discourse. The legitimacy to engage in issues that are perceived as feminine for years, but today they are more legitimate as part of the discourse to promote just and equal and gender-sensitive space.
The Haredi women are it appears that they can achieve everything, that they're out there, they're working, they have actually they support the ultra-Orthodox world. You could find them holding very important positions everywhere, but it's like but for the most important places, they're not there. They are invisible there, and it's first of all in politics. You cannot find Haredi women in Haredi politics. You could find there only men, and it's not only in the Knesset. It's only all over. Like you could find Haredi cities, and around the table, that people are making decisions regarding kindergartens, regarding transportation, regarding even mikvahs for women. You could find only men getting to decide all these important things. And I'm very busy in this fight for quite a few years now, and people are telling there is like a perception, a wrong perception, but existing perception that, well, it's your problem. It's a problem of Haredi women. You should do something to change it. It's not our problem. But I say no. It is a problem of the entire Haredi community, and it is a problem of Israel in general.
But I also have to say that Israel, for the last a few decades, had a few setbacks in feminism. The discourse in Israel has, in recent years, become very nationalistic and very patriarchal. There is more cases of, unfortunately, murder of women from all cultures and religions. There is more exclusion of women from public sphere by religious forces, exposing the lack. These all expose the lack of appropriate responses to all types of violence that we meet: economic violence, emotional violence, mental violence, not just the physical one. I believe that gender studies can actually promote women in the public space and can by dealing with feminism and gender equality.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, for your very thorough and thought-provoking answers. I have another question on the university. You both have taught classes, and can you speak to the potential of the students you've taught, and how you think they and future generations of feminist leaders who come to study in the program will advance gender equity in Israel?
Well, first of all, when the faculty parking lot gate opened for me for the first time that I began teaching, I felt the most privileged woman on earth, really. It was like, and then when I stood the first time in front of a class and I taught, my own course, a course that I wrote, the syllabus, and I spoke about, my activism, but how we can theoretical generalize it to ultra-Orthodox feminism and how we combine multiculturalism and culture and communication. I was like, really, I was in heaven. I was so happy and I felt so privileged. Then I speak with my own people, and it's like heaven and earth. Like there is, it's really is amazing to see how open-minded are they, how they are willing to learn, how they are really want to get the most they can from me, not only what I'm teaching, but about my life, about ultra-Orthodox women.
I think they're unpacking their gaze was one of the most important things that they learn in my classes. And also, asking about power relations and cultural constructions and alternatives. So studying feminism affect, as they used to tell me, they affect the way they look at reality, they look at the way they look at themselves, and the way they look at the other. I have to say that teaching Muslim and Arab feminisms was not by me. I wasn't a conservative teacher. I used to take them to the field. I used to organize many tours to meet organizations, meet feminist local organizations, to meet local knowledge, to meet the people, the models of feminism, how they struggle through patriarchy and through traditional villages and culture in order to promote themselves, in order to get education and to get basic education for themselves, for their children, for their daughter, and able to choose their spouses in order to fight patriarchy and their tribes for basic needs. It is very important for me to expose these organizations that are hidden from the public sphere and expose their very significant work that they do on daily basis to these students, not just so these students can know about the different ways of feminisms, but also to get to know the other. When you visit a Bedouin village or an Arab village and you meet role models of local feminism, it opens your mind and you ask questions not about these other Arab and women that you meet, but you also ask yourself about the perspective, the values, and the beliefs that you came with. And I think these students become more sensitive to vulnerable population, to other women. At least this is what they told me, and they developed more critical perspective and more reflective perspective. And I think this is the most important thing.
Thank you. Esther, you said, sometimes you're not so optimistic, but I want to tell you that both of you give me a great deal of optimism, because you are really helping to prepare a new generation of feminist leaders who will cross divides from listening to you, whether they're political, religious, or other, and who will you are creating connections and collaborations necessary to meet the challenges facing Israeli society and advance the status of women in Israel. So I thank you both so much. As we wrap up, there's one action. What I'd like to ask you is, what is one action that you believe is important for everyone listening to take? What should we be doing today after this program? What could you share with friends, colleagues, family, to support feminist activists on the ground in Israel?
As I said, not very optimistic, but when I want to encourage myself and when I need, fuel or energy, then I sit on the shoulder of giants, and the giant that I'm sitting on is a very, very small girl, my niece. Her name is Shira. And, when I just began my activism, I don't remember, a few years ago, and, it was heavy stuff and some prices to pay, and there were issues in the family, and some of them are not talking to me until today, never mind. But she told me from day one, she told me, Esti, you're so right. This is not fair. It's not fair that there are no women there. And every time it gets frustrated, and it gets sometimes messy, sometimes ugly, sometimes sad, I try and listen to her voice telling me, Essie, you're doing the right thing. You're working for me. It's really not fair. You're 100%. And I want also to say that what I think is very important is solidarity, to work in a coalition. As Lila Western, feminist activist and Aboriginal thinker, Hamutal Guri is always mentioning her, and I'm going on in her way. And she said, if you came to help me, you're wasting both our times. But if you came because you understand that your release involves mine, then let's work together. And this is, I think, like Very, very important for us to remember. Don't try and save me. I'm not trying to save you. We are working together because we are connected to each other. We can't really do and succeed by ourselves and by our own. And always remember the little girl that she's way behind. She's not, I don't know if she will ever be able to go to school, as Safa said, and we have to think of her and to work for her.
So I think that one of the most important things that we should do, I think from my perspective now, is the need to ensure the dominance of gender departments in the educational, public and academic space in Israel, not just for students who choose to study gender, but also to expose much more boys and girls, men and women in Israel, Arabs and Jews, as much as we can, to gender equality and its contribution to their lives. People need to learn and understand that gender equality and equity is not just a marginal matter or a choice of these privileged people or a radical idea. People must begin to understand that gender studies is basic to our way of thinking to become more sensitive and open and accepting. People need to understand that feminist discourse and feminist practices related to everything we do in our lives. It is not a separate arena. It is critical in educating our children to become better people. And I think that we need to expose as many people as we can. And we should start from education, the education system, to teach them about gender equality. I think this will only make our society less violent, more open, and more accepting.
If I might just add, I wanted to talk about it before. I am right now the only ultra-Orthodox women that study in the program, okay, not in Tel Aviv University, but in the program. And I think, as Safa just said, I think it's very crucial that there should be more Haredi women in learning gender in Tel Aviv University. And it's not easy to be a minority inside the minority, and but I would love for more Haredi women to come and learn in Tel Aviv University, to learn gender in multiculturalism program. They will benefit from it, and the university will benefit from it, and the community in Israel will benefit from it eventually. And it's not easy. You know, you have to have funds for it, and you have to have not every Haredi woman can do this step. But I think that if eventually there will be more Haredi women here with us, then the ripple of change will be more advanced.
I think that as we have seen in the last, at least 2 decades, Arab and Muslim women has reached to decision-making positions and the professors at the academia, and are very dominant in public sphere. I think it is possible to reach our dreams. It is possible to dream. It is possible to fight patriarchy and to get where we need to get. It is possible to fulfill our dreams and to also pursue more equity in our lives.
Thank you. Hopefully there'll be more Haredi women and Palestinian, Muslim, Bedouin women with leaders like you. Thank you so much. This has really been a pleasure. And with that, it's time to close our panel today. Thanks again, Safa and Esti, for sharing your expertise and passion with us.
In the classrooms of the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University, we've seen how significant and revolutionary education can be. The critical work happening at Tel Aviv University transforms its students. It prepares them for the hard but rewarding efforts ahead in the world of social change and supports the students' development into powerful women ready to lead Israel in the public and private sectors and create lasting change that advances gender equity for all.
And it has real impact on the feminist advancements happening across the country. The work we do here has always been intertwined with the real lives of women in the real world. The ways we have been left out of them or misread in critical research, judged unfairly in the legal system, misdiagnosed or dismissed in the medical system, socially marginalized, and the ways that we have contributed, demonstrated, lifted up, transformed, even if we were not always given our full due.
Illuminating the places where we have been left out is a key part of the work that the NCJW Women and Gender Studies program has done and will continue to do. Daphna, as we think about the future of the program and what's ahead in the next 20 years, so much is possible. What do you hope for in the future of the Women and Gender Studies program and its impact on advancing gender equity?
My dream is that we will more than double our size and have 100 BA and 50 MA students enrolled each year. This critical mass will change Israeli society. For that, we need more faculty members, more scholarships for women from underprivileged communities, and resources for campaigns that will tell potential students about the option of a degree in gender studies. I also hope that men will realize that gender studies are not only for and about women, and will come to learn how feminism can and should liberate us all. Dana, what do you hope for our current students and alumni as they head into their futures as well?
That they will continue to grow and flourish, and that their brilliance will be appreciated and nurtured by leaders who can ensure that their impact is seen and heard. Together, I am confident we can effect real and lasting change.
Thank you, Dana. Indeed, this program is all about empowering women from all sectors of Israeli society, making a place for a diverse range of voices, lifting up the leadership and insights of a broad swatch of perspectives.
And that is at the core of all of NCJW's efforts in Israel, from this program to the Connecting for Impact Fellowship to our Israel Granting Program. In years to come, we will continue adapting to the needs of women in Israel and to new opportunities and challenges facing the feminist movement. We know the future of work in Israel must be led by women from every community, uplifting intersectional social justice work. And we will continue to ensure that we're investing in women so that they have the knowledge, training, connections, and resources to grow into impactful and influential leaders. Please help us continue these endeavors for the next 20 years by supporting NCJW. The link again is www.ncjw.org/donate.
Thank you, each and every person who has supported NCJW Women and Gender Studies program at Tel Aviv University from its inception until today, and will continue to support our efforts well into the future. Thank you to each professor who has dedicated so much time to providing transformative education, to each person who has spent countless hours advancing research, to each student who came through our program ready to learn, grow, and make a change. Thank you to the administrative team of the program, who is doing an incredible job. And thank you to our alumni who took the seeds planted in this program and have gone to lead, to advocate, and to act to improve the lives of women, children, and families in Israel. We are so proud of each of your achievements and cannot wait to see what all of you and us can accomplish together in the years ahead.
And thanks to everyone here today for taking the time to celebrate with us. Here's to the next 20 years of NCJW's and Tel Aviv University's Women and Gender Studies program.
Hi, Shira here again. I'm gonna leave you with a song. It's a song I wrote called Warrior. I wrote it for a really good friend of mine who at the time was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I wanted to remind her of the warrior that she is. And over time it became this female warrior song. So I want to dedicate it to all you female warriors. Keep on the good work. It starts with breathing